You read about Western swing?
Yeah, I did.
How did you find out about Western swing?
Well, I know a few people who own country shops, country music shops, and I sort of got some stuff from America from there. I know some good books, country music, USA, I think, as well. It was very useful. Basically, it was just to give a history to British readers. There's not a lot of people in England know much about Western swing at all. Actually, they passed it, other than Asleep at the Wheel, bands like that, Bob Williams.
Does Asleep at the Wheel have a following here?
All sorts, mainly only in the press.
Tiny.
Yeah, they're coming out shortly.
Okay.
I'm sorry we're in such a rush, but we got strung out in some traffic, and our schedule's been off about an hour all day long, so that's what's happening.
Right. Can I ask you, first of all, you've got an album out again now. It's two full years since you recorded The Prison.
Yeah.
So why was there such a long delay?
I was putting together the Pacific Arts Corporation, and it just takes time in starting any new business to iron out get some of the economics together, and my wife and I really run it. I mean, it's not like a company that I just give my name to or give my little time to. I mean, it's really something that I operate. So I spent the time in getting it set, getting it established. Now that I have it built, I'll be more visible, I think, in the future. More stuff coming along.
What sort of areas are you dealing with?
Film.
What kind of film?
Well, promotional films. Promotional video disc. That's where we're headed.
Yeah.
We're headed into like cassette or disc or whatever the matrix is going to be. But we're building video or visual counterparts to music, and I visualize it as a new art form.
You think it's the next step on from?
No question about it. Just absolutely going to happen.
Yeah. And I understand that the first one is one of Rio.
Yeah.
And how did you put that together?
I started off by just kind of pushing at the limits of the song conceptually and seeing what visually it lent itself to, and kind of patched that together to see how it would come together in a script form, and linked up with a director friend who I trusted and I felt would be pretty good.
Who's that?
A man named William Deere. Then we both saw what a lot of the problems were, which was that you have to use music as the basis for the film rather than the music being secondary to the film. I had to make everything juxtaposed. And he was really familiar with old Hollywood movies. He's a real film buff, and so am I. And that's really where most of that national band stuff came from the beginning, which was that old Western Hollywood movies. And I just wanted to make an extension of that. So after we dealt with it conceptually, we just put it together like you put together any other film.
So you regard that as a progression, maybe, say, from the concept of The Prison, which was an album and a book, and now it's the album with moving pictures.
Right.
Yeah. Were you satisfied with the way The Prison came out?
Yes.
And what, there was a ballet made of it, right?
In San Francisco.
Yeah. And how did that come about? Were you involved?
Was I involved?
Yeah.
Oh yes, I produced it.
Yeah.
It was just stunning. I thought it was wonderful. I'd love to get a ballet company interested in it here.
Was it successful financially?
No, it wasn't. We spent all our money in mounting the effort, so we didn't have enough money left to promote it properly.
How was the music put across? How did the music for the ballet differ to the album?
It didn't much, except that I had a band and I played on stage.
Yeah.
Played all the music and kind of narrated the story, and then the ballet dancers danced.
In the instrumental sections, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
and also during the singing sections.
Yeah. And was it about the same length then, or was it extended?
About an hour and a half.
So it's about twice long.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. You said on the sleeve notes to Ranch Stash that lyrics aren't really the communicative part of what you're doing.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, is that why you moved towards this visual side of things then, rather than... Is that to sort of... I mean, I imagine the music and the pictures are connected more than the words then. Is that what's happening?
Not exactly, because the pictures don't really work as a literal translation of the lyric.
Yeah.
What you try to do is, and what I try to do in the film is to evoke a certain feeling, and I use the music as a scenario for an interplay of events that I think will be most evocative of the same type of thinking that the music just by itself precipitates.
Yeah.
And I'm not so much concerned with trying to translate what is said in a lyric. In other words, if I say motorboat, it doesn't necessarily have to be motorboat. You know, it can be a lot of other things.
Yeah. You say Pacific Arts is mainly concerned with film and so on.
Well, I thought you said, what are you mainly concerned with now? Yeah.
Because the Kaleidoscope album was on Pacific Arts,
yeah.
right? And what's the roster now?
We don't sign artists exclusively,
yeah.
And so we just deal on a piece-by-piece basis with everybody. It doesn't make any difference who it is. And so we don't have an artist roster.
No.
What we have is a product roster, a record catalog, a library.
Yeah.
And it's a little different way of doing business. I'm convinced it's a better way.
A better way than, say, you did with Countryside?
Yes. I was forced into doing a lot of things with the Countryside that was dictated by my parent company, Elektra, because my contracts had to closely approximate theirs.
What else was on Countryside apart from Garland Frey and Red Rose? Was there anything else actually released on that label?
Nothing else released. There were a couple of other LPs that never got out.
Who were they by?
Steve Fromholtz and Spanky McFarlane.
The Fromholtz album's never been released?
No.
Who has the tapes?
He does.
Yeah.
I gave all the master tapes back to all the artists. I gave Garland his back, and Red's his, and Stephen his, and Spanky hers.
Were you disappointed with the way that turned out then?
I don't think I was disappointed. Pacific Arts is really a phoenix of that, and it's always a tough thing to go through, but you just have to move on.
Yeah. About the new album, what exactly does the title of the album mean? If you that's what you've been asked that before.
Yeah, well, I've been asked it a lot. It's well, I'll tell you, it does mean something, but it's so difficult to explain. Do you know what a photon is?
Electrons.
It's what?
Anything to do with electrons.
And neutrons.
No, but it's close. It's not bad. Photon is a basic particle of light.
Yeah.
So that'll help you a little bit. It's all interwoven with theoretical physics, and it does have something to do with the album. And it's.
If we look hard enough.
Well, you just have to sit and figure it out. I mean, you just. But for me to sit and go into it is literally like a 2-hour rap.
Okay.
You know,
Well, we haven't got that.
Okay.
You, on the album, to talk about the album now, you recorded again with Weldon Myrick and David Briggs, who must have been involved with your work with Area Code 615.
No, David Briggs was, but Weldon wasn't.
No.
And my work with Area Code 615 was just those 10 tracks that I did during Monkey's time.
Yeah. So it wasn't a question really of getting back with some of the old musicians you'd worked with before?
Yes, it was, but David Briggs primarily.
Yeah.
And the rest of the people were brand new.
Except, isn't David Cohen still?
David Cohen? Michael Cohen?
Michael Cohen, sorry, yeah. You went to Nashville again to record that.
Right.
Whereas most of your recordings have been on the West Coast.
Right.
Why was there any reason for that?
Yeah, I wanted to get involved with the people who could do head arrangements.
Yeah.
And that's really the place to go for that. Nobody else that I know of really in the world can do it like the Nashville Cats.
What about the Navajo Trail track? Who is Marjorie Elliott?
The girl that wrote it.
Yeah, she can't tell me anything about that.
Well, I don't know anything about her. You know, the song was written about 1937.
Yeah. Because that ties up with the Nevada fighter thing, doesn't it?
A little bit.
Yeah, the connection with the Navajo. What's your thing about that?
I like the sound of the word.
It's as simple as that.
It's as simple as that.
It's not, and yet again you've shown on the album cover holding "Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee." Have you got any big thing about the American Indians?
No, I don't know hardly anything about them at all.
Really?
No, I sort of like Indian artifacts. They're not Indians anyway, they're Native Americans, according to them. I mean, so that's the last thing I heard, you know. I mean, I don't pay any attention. I'm non-political, so I don't really know from those different kinds of groups.
Yeah.
But, you know, the Navajo, it's a nice name, you know.
Yeah.
The only other thing I can think about is Apache, but Apache I always thought were warlike.
Yeah, it sounds like that.
Yeah, it's from the old movie input.
Yeah. Now, I expect you've been asked today already about the story about the monkeys reforming.
Yes, I have. Would you like me to tell you that we're not?
Yeah, I know that, yeah.
Okay.
But where do you think you've been able to do what you've been able to do over the last 7-10 years, say, without, what do you think you'd have done over the last 10 years if it hadn't been for the monkeys? In other words...
Oh, I don't have a clue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a hypothetical question I couldn't possibly answer.
But I suppose by now that's all exhausted, but it did give you the chance to record quite a lot of albums in quite a short space of time for RCA, didn't it? If the question you're asking is, do I view the Monkees as a good experience, the answer is yes. Yeah.
If you're saying the Monkees gave you the chance to do this, and if you hadn't been here, you hadn't been that, it's to throw the whole thing open to chance.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced, like Einstein, that God does not play dice with the universe. So I'm certain that things have unfolded exactly accordingly as they should have, and I'm pretty well convinced that they will continue to do that.
And where do we go then from here?
I think film, and you'll see more and more film. Would you like to see the film?
Yeah. Certainly, yeah.
Okay. It'll burn up some time, but I'll be happy to play it for you.
Sure, I'd love to see it.
We have to win, I think.
Yeah. Are you going to play over here?
Perhaps. No, not soon.
Not soon.
No, be fall before I go over here with anything.
But there's a chance of you playing here this year.
Yeah. Well, you know, I love England.
Yeah.
And I love, you have to remember that this country has been loyal to me and my music through thick and thin, so I have a great love. I'm not an Anglophile, but I have a great gratitude to the English people for that.
Yeah. It really ought to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you'll probably see some of it on British television. You know.
Oh,
It's here. It's available for free
seen.
for television.
Yeah.
So, because our return comes back in the LPs and the records that it sells. It's not completely free. I mean, you know, there's fees involved and stuff like that. But the video disc will be eminently practicable. It's right around the
Are
corner.
you aiming to do it for a whole album?
Yeah, I'm going to do Proton Wing.
You're going to do the whole thing?
Yeah.
I hope you'd like to see that sometime.
Yeah.
I guess you've got to go in.
Can I just take a couple of photographs and put the lights up on? And,
Yeah, sure.
And you might
got
mind
a couple
doing
of favours to ask you.
And they'll play the story of Lucy, Ramona, and Sunset Sam anytime you'd like. If you want to be on our mailing list, just leave your name and address at the beep. You'll be hearing a whole lot more from Michael Nesmith. Thanks for calling.
Agent, is that pretty good enough? Oh, it's Stone? No, this is Stone. This is a song called Blue Karaoke. It's about pudding. As the planet is wrong, when we went through the feelings of summer, and gentle nature held us together, and I said, that is fine. Yeah, that wasn't much better last show. We were all over the place, and that sounded like this was good. The next song, oh, that's usually side one. Now, side two starts off with a long narrative round of boulders right on the edge of the river. There you go. Ready?